Media Network proudly presents It's All Love, Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Mountain Time, 6 p.m. Eastern, with Laura Mock, Maria Hartman, Wendy Ann, and Lara Brzezinski. It's All Love, a space where we open into the heart, tap into the soul's deep wisdom, and enter into the energy of love, truth, presence, and joy. It's All Love, Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Mountain Time, 6 p.m. Eastern.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome to It's All Love, a sacred community where we open our hearts, align to the vibration of love, heart to heart, soul to soul. We meet everybody here tonight. I'm Maria. Joining me today are Wendy down below and Laura.
Hi.
Okay, great. At the beginning of every session or of every podcast, we start with a short meditation where we tap into our hearts, where we bring all of our energy into our centers so that we can be present and aligned with our own spirits and with Source. And so we invite you to join us during the meditation if you would like. Wendy, tonight you're going to lead the meditation for us, correct?
I will.
All right.
So welcome, and just feel yourself arriving in this moment. And maybe even before you close your eyes, take a look around you and notice where you are. Notice the room you might be in. If there's a window, notice what the weather is outside. And just feel yourself situated in this place and in this moment. And then if you feel called to, you can close your eyes, which can help signal to go within. Even with our eyes closed, we can trust that everything that was around us, everything that we saw, everything that we noticed is still there. We don't have to see it to know that our surroundings are still the same. So I'm just going to invite you into stillness. Allow your body to soften into the support beneath you. Notice how the earth holds you without asking for anything in return. Bring your attention to your breath. Just as our surroundings are always there, even with our eyes closed, our breath is always there. I don't ask that you change it, just notice it. The inhale always comes. The exhale always follows. Life moves through you without you needing to control it. And to help you arrive in this moment, you can gently tell yourself, I can trust this breath. Now bring your awareness into your body. And just try and notice a single sensation. Maybe it's warmth or heaviness. And just let it be there without judgment. You can remind yourself, I can trust that what I feel is real. Trusting this moment and trusting this feeling, trusting the breath, and nothing more is required of you. Now you can return your attention back to the flow of air in and out. And see if you can recall your surroundings behind your closed eyes, knowing that it is still there. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes. And we will begin.
Thank you, Wendy. That was beautiful. I particularly loved when you said you can trust this breath. You can trust this breath. So really quickly before we dive into our topics, we want to say that hi to Laura, the other Laura, without you. I will say that every time. She is out of town this week, so you've got the three of us again. And we invite you to join us, to interact with us. We know some people are watching this pre-recorded or later, but if you're here with us, please feel free to send a comment in. We'll keep eyes on that as well. A question. You can give us a whole new topic. You also can email us as well. And that's not our email. You can email us as well. That was Laura's website, but you can email us here and just talk to us, see what's up. Give us some ideas of what you need, because again, it's all love, and that is a very wide topic. How can everything be all love? So again, we welcome you here with us today. So let's get back to that trust thing.
Yeah. Let's.
Trust this breath. I can trust this breath. So I'm curious, ladies, as Wendy said, I can trust this breath. We were talking, of course, before we entered the studio today, and trust and was a topic that was coming up for me a lot with clients, and is something that is pivotal in my life and part of the spiritual journey. So when we talk about trust and inner trust and trusting this breath, where does trust go into it's all love? Where does trust go into the spiritual journey, and why can it be so challenging? So what are your thoughts about trust? And let me even define it the way I keep asking that every time I'm on, but how would you define trust? Because Maria, you mentioned something between ego and spirit earlier.
Well, two things. Two things came up during the meditation. Thank you, Wendy. Beautiful. One is I loved that same part, trust the breath. And it got me to thinking that even when I feel like there's so much going in my life and so many questions and things might be going wrong, I can always trust in my own breath, my own inhale, my own exhale, and bring my attention back to that, back to center, back to present, back to the breath. That much I have control over. Well, not even, right? I mean, I guess, but I do have control over where I choose to focus. Yeah.
Yeah. Consciously. Yeah.
Yeah. The other part was when we first closed our eyes, after you had us notice the things in our rooms, and I noticed all my plants all
Mm.
above my desk here that I love. But as I closed my eyes and you said, trust that they're still there. And I thought, well, of course they're still there. But how easy but that being said, the first like 15 years of my spiritual journey, the first 15 years, I had a sticky note that said trust on my board because
Mm.
it was so hard for me to trust my own inner wisdom
Mm.
when I
Mm.
first started trying to go in and hear that whisper.
Right.
I constantly questioned, constantly. And yet we don't question, like when we close our eyes, we know that the things are still there. I close my eyes, I know the chair isn't going to fall from beneath me, or disappear from beneath me. I trust those physical things.
Like when Wendy said, trust that the earth has you without you having
Yeah,
to do anything in return. The chair
right.
has you. Wendy, what are your thoughts? My cat Jimmy is making an appearance today. Say
Jimmy.
hi, Jimmy.
Oh.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts, Wendy?
I think trust when it's not easier per se, but um, the doubts and fears, depending on what your experience is, can be the loudest voice in the room. And so trusting to be present or to rest in what is and not in what it could be or what it was, um,
Mm,
is for me, that's how you can be moment to moment. Um, and don't know why that's always so hard, but that's, and it's not a state to strive for. I think that's the other thing is, just like anything else, trust can be a balance point because we are in this world that swings. We are with other people. We are with other opinions and other voices. And so knowing yourself and believing your own worth and your own opinions, and be able to stay in presence with those and not have them inform doubt or fear. You can swing out and kind of come back again. I think that's where the trust comes in, is when whatever's on the outside, of course we're going to notice it, of course we're going to listen to it, but can you come back to that center of your own self at the end? And that's where the trust comes into play, perhaps.
so, when you said, I like what you said a lot about like what it's letting go of what I don't think you said letting go. How did you letting go? But a version of letting go of what could be or what was or
Right.
what it was. To me, those are forms of anxiety,
Mm-hmm.
right? The root of anxiety is like what in PTSD, what happened before, I'm scared
Right.
it's going to happen again. And if I had made this decision, what could have happened? Like, it's all of that.
Right.
I thought, but I don't think you said letting go. I think you said something other than letting it go. What did you?
Well, I'd have to listen back
I know.
because I'm in the
You're on a
moment.
roll. You're
I'm
on
in
a
the
roll.
moment, and that was in the past. So,
Yeah, that's true.
That moment has
um,
passed.
yeah, I don't know. There's just this willingness to. You have to be willing to
Mhm.
trust yourself.
Hmm. Well, let me play the devil's advocate then. What happens? What happens
Mhm.
when you feel like your life is in shambles or
Right.
something has happened because you chose something that
Right.
created this something and now you don't trust your choices, your own
Mm-hmm.
choices? Then what?
Are you asking me?
I'm asking
I think
everybody.
she's asking everybody.
I am. I am asking
Yeah, it's
anybody and
it's a really good
everybody.
question because how do you trust when you feel like
Mm.
something you chose is not right, or it led you into something that maybe was not the right situation. So
A situation that hurt you or
a
harmed you or
situation,
didn't feel good.
exactly.
Yeah.
So then so then your inner story is, I can't trust myself.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't feel like, and maybe that's when you start casting out to outside sources as being the ones that have all the wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So if you have put yourself in a situation like that, and you feel like you can't trust yourself, but maybe the first step is, can you trust yourself to not do that again? If you are aware that this was not right for you, then maybe you can trust yourself to not do that again if the situation comes up. Or instead of thinking of trust as like this state that is finished and done, like, okay, okay, I have trust now and I'm done. You could think of it as, I'm not perfect, but maybe I will never fail myself again. Because we can't change what happened, but maybe we can trust ourselves enough to be willing to be with whatever comes next.
Yeah.
So I'm going to throw something out there as well as Jimmy's nuzzling into my shoulder. Sorry. Um, and this is, so with great humility, I say, the situation that we find ourselves in, the moment we allow ourselves to get out of victim mentality. I know people talk about victim consciousness a lot. Not, which is a fine line, right? There's a discerning line between, I acknowledge that this has happened to me and that some of my choices when we're children, however, I'm going to say that differently, but as an adult, of course, the child trauma can lead over into adult trauma, but that these choices that I've made has resulted in this effect. But at the same time, so acknowledging that this hurts, I think that's really important, being authentic and real. At the same time, expanding consciousness would say, this is here for me. And I say that with humility and grace and deep compassion. At the same time, I know it's a game changer. Because it is, I swear, we all know that I think I'm friends with Oprah. But one of the first things that I ever learned, and I don't remember who her guest was, but they were talking about a very difficult situation. And they said when they recognized that if they changed their mindset on how they were looking at it, from victim to opportunity, not discounting how they felt, not discounting that this hurt. I think there's a little fine line where I do think there needs to be acknowledgement of, like, I made these choices out of fear. I made these choices out of not feeling like I'm enough. I made these choices out of feeling like shame and guilt, whatever it may be. But I think it's important for us to own those things and then begin to take it as an opportunity. How can this serve me for my highest good? And now what?
And maybe asking yourself, what version of me made those choices in the first place?
Right. So if anyone's out there, I would be curious if you have examples. We invite you to give us questions, examples of that in your own life. But Maria, I think you're going to say something.
Yeah, I think what you said, you brought up something very important, and you talked about the victim mentality, and what crossed my mind was when we think about when we are victimized, or we feel like we are the victim of something, that's when we look at a situation and we place blame outside of ourselves, usually. This happened to me. I am the victim. Why did this happen to me? It removes all responsibility from us and blames outside sources, really. But then I do like that the expanded consciousness, or the expanded or the higher perspective, would be to take that same situation, that same pain, and say, this happened for me. What was the big lesson in that? What have I learned from it? How can I move forward now from this more wise place? Because wisdom comes from that experience, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
hopefully.
Well, and I think you have to have a healthy detachment. That's the beginning of a healthy detachment. Begin to witness
Yeah.
yourself, witness like what Wendy was talking about. What part of me, invited this into my life?
Mm-hmm.
What part of me? And it's always going to be most likely something where you did not feel like you're enough on your own. And no one, I don't think any of us are saying, like, if there's abusive situation, no one is saying that you deserve that
Right.
is nothing like that.
No.
But the way the pattern continues is the way the pattern continues is how is like what Maria was saying, blame outside of yourself. And if someone says, I don't know why I keep going back to like an abusive relationship or whatever, but well, they did hit me, they did hurt me, this did happen to me. And but very often when people leave that relationship and they're very angry, understandably so, or they're very hurt, the pattern continues,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So what's the breaking point of that pattern? And I feel like it's what you're saying. The moment I believe very strongly we can say we have been victimized in a situation.
Mm-hmm.
But the victimization and being a victim are two very different energy sources to me. One's
Yes.
fear and one's empowerment, and one's
Mm.
acknowledging the truth, but also like saying that this is not my identity.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment you release the identity of being a victim, I believe you feel empowered and you can begin to make different steps forward. But it is not an easy thing to say sometimes to other people. Um, but I think it's a necessary thing. This is actually here for me. I think one of the hardest things we can do is look at some of the most difficult things in my life, in your life, in our lives, those of you out there listening. And we say it with, again, humility and compassion, but a deep breath, saying, can you find wisdom in the thing that happened? Can you remove the victim and say, this is happening for me? What is it? That goes back to that Eileen Caddy thing. If you can find the spark in the dark. Eileen Caddy was this beautiful lady that lived in Scotland a long time ago. She Finhorn. If anyone knows who Finhorn is, I believe in Scotland. I think that's right. And she said a quote that when my father was terminally ill, and we knew that it was going to be a long Parkinson's. We knew it was going to be a very long process because that's just the nature of that situation. I was in a very, very dark place. I had a miscarriage around that same time. I had a little boy. Like I just had a lot going on. It was becoming quite depressive. And I was very close to my father. And I found Eileen Caddy's quote, and she said, "Can you find the spark in the dark?" And to me, if I take that in modern terms, can you find the gift in this difficult situation? And then the quote went on to say something to the effect of, and then focus on that. She wasn't talking about spiritually bypassing. She was saying, acknowledge how you feel.
Right.
And then to find empowerment, find the spark in the dark and focus on the spark, and watch the spark grow and grow and grow very authentically until it takes over the dark and you can't believe you missed it the whole time.
Mm.
So I remember when my father was dying, the long, slow process, I framed that quote. I know my cat. I framed the quote. We're all real. We have real families and real animals.
Yeah.
And I framed that quote, and I remember I had just kind of begun a spiritual journey at that point, an awakening journey, a consciousness journey, a little around that time, partly because of his illness and that miscarriage. And I remember thinking, if I can live this truth, I can do anything, because this is the hardest thing in my life that may ever happen. And if I can do it here, I can do it anywhere. And I was determined to live that truth.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. We were just, I don't feel like this is off topic, but as you were speaking, might be, as you were speaking, what I thought about was a previous conversation when we were talking about, you know, stuff is going on around you and people are telling you just show gratitude, be grateful.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's kind of the same idea, right?
Right.
Yes, all this stuff is going on around me. I mean, you had real pains
Yeah.
happen
I cried a
in
lot.
your life.
Mm,
Yeah.
I
But
did.
asking you to look for the spark in that darkness, in that hour when it felt really dark for multiple reasons. But
Right.
being able to find that spark, being able to find the thing that you're grateful for, being able to find another thing that you're grateful for. It could
mm,
start as small as the plants on my desk that bring me so
Right.
much joy. It doesn't have to be this huge event, it, but starting to turn your focus towards the spark, finding those things that bring you joy, even if it's a second of joy. And the
Right.
more you notice the spark, the more you notice the other spark and the other spark
Right.
and the other
mm,
spark. And then all of a sudden, you're not searching for things to be grateful for. You are grateful.
right. It's like that thing that's going around online a little while ago. It's the opposite of triggers is glimmers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and both can exist. And both
Right.
do exist in all of our lives at the same time. And we don't even though we might want to cast away the traumas that happened to us, you wouldn't be the version of you that can see things the way you see them
Mm.
without it, no matter how, and not excusing, terrible trauma to anybody. But that that thing that happened doesn't change the person that I am that can look outside. I went on a walk today and I saw a Luna moth
Ooh.
on the sidewalk, and of course I stopped and took a picture of it. But I think it had probably been attacked by a bird or hit by a car or something, so it had passed away. But still, it was beautiful, even in
Mm-hmm.
its state. That color of green, that shade of green is hardly seen anywhere else in nature. So of course I stopped
Mm-hmm.
and looked at it, and the version of me, any version of me, is going to notice that. And no matter what the story is, doesn't change that shade of green on the sidewalk.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's deep, Wendy. I
Look at that.
why don't
Glimmer.
why don't we pause there for a moment
Oh,
and
right.
have our little commercial, and we'll come back and maybe we'll finish. I'll finish the story a little bit on how that happened for me if we want to. And then we can go into how all this is connected to, because there is a big connection to inner trust
Mm,
and mindset and in finding that balance of not spiritually bypassing at the same time, knowing that you really do have the power inside of you to shift your perception, which will shift your reality.
Hmm.
I really believe
mm,
this. So we're going to shoot
can't
back
wait.
to the commercial, and then we'll be back in a little bit.
What I can say is, wow, there are so many New Thought celebrities in the room. I am telling you, this is a real family reunion. And if you've never been, believe me when I tell you, you are part of the family. You want to come, you want to learn, you want to be hugged on, you want to be loved on. This is the place to be. So
it's a lot of fun. It's like a family reunion. We get together, we laugh and we cry and we're together and we deepen, and it's a lot of fun.
When I think about all the retreats I've been to, all of the summers I've spent going to many places to get spiritual food, nothing really quite does it the way Anton does. There's a family sense here. You come here and you're surrounded by loved ones.
It's very much like to see you at the Anton Retreat 2025. There are lots of wonderful surprises.
So I'm going to go on record saying I love that retreat. If you saw that beautiful labyrinth, it is amazing. I will tell you the people that are there. I can't go. It's sometimes when you have I still have a young one at home, but when I have gone several times, the love that's in that place and the rain. I mean, if I think about it too much, I'll start sobbing right now. So I will not do that to you all. But it is a beautiful, loving place to be, and everyone is welcome and loved there. So I love that retreat. It's in Kansas City at Unity Village. It's a really cool place. It's a very soulful place. So that's my ad for that as well, only because I just sincerely and authentically have really enjoyed the people and the family that's there. So one day I'll get back. All right, let's continue, ladies, with finding that spark, finding that inner trust, the inner wisdom. It's, again, I think, I'm curious what you all think, but the link that I was thinking about between what Maria was saying, which did not change the subject, because it's all love, Maria. It's all love, girl. All love is where, like, if we can step out and say, this is here for me. No one is discounting the experience. No one is saying that you just, glossy, oh, this, but this is happening for me. That begins the dialogue of inner trust. It begins the journey of trusting you being one in the universe, and the universe not punishing you. It's not after you. It's not trying to hurt you, but it's here to expand and help you expand your wisdom. You're one in it. You are the field, right, Wendy? Mm-hmm. You are the field. And so the field of love. And so I'd be curious what everyone out there, if someone has a question, please ask. You can email us here as well. But I can finish my little story. It's very short, or, well, I'll just finish it since I said it.
Yeah, teasing us with it.
Oh,
well, I think you all know it probably, but the story coming back to where we started was finding the spark in the dark, and like how we can help ourselves get out. Because I was definitely 100% feeling sorry for myself, but I'm not ashamed. I was in pain. I was hurting, and but I was determined to, like, I was tired of hurting to the extent that I was hurting. And I thought that I wonder if there's another way to go on this journey with my father's illness. And so anyway, find the spark in the dark, focus on the spark until you can't see anything else. And she was very mindful of saying, do not bypass how you feel. But again, we all get to that place where I'm sick of myself. I'm sick of feeling this way. I'm tired of feeling this way. So I got to that place because I did not want to waste my time with him. I just thought there was more opportunity in this. And I was reading spiritual texts and was beginning to believe it's true. So the spark in the dark, and I'm convinced that no one really can give it to you, even though I do think there are people, spiritual practitioners per se, that can help guide you. But I think it really needs to come from you. And my dad was becoming not responsive as much. And again, this was a man that was a marathoner. He was very well respected in our community as an educator and a principal. And he's just a cool dude. We had our moments. I definitely fought with him at times, but all good. And so I thought, oh, I've got to find the spark. How can I find a spark when someone that I love is dying in front of me? And I felt like it was unfair. And so I remember one day I was sitting on the couch and he was laying there because he couldn't move. Parkinson's, just, if anyone knows, it just kind of messes with the body, and his mind was a little fuzzy too. And he wasn't able to speak well. And then he had these beautiful blue eyes. And I remember thinking, oh, his eyes are sparkling still, which is, interesting. And I remember looking in his eyes, and it came to me, my spark in the dark was, I'm going to let him know how grateful I was. And I know that different people have different experiences. Sometimes there's a long illness. Sometimes it's so fast you didn't have to say goodbye. So I was going to find the spark in the long goodbye. And I knew that every time I saw him, I was going to let him know how grateful I was for him, even the arguments, even the challenges. And I just kept holding on to that spark of gratitude for him, gratitude, even though I didn't like this, I'm still grateful. I wouldn't change him not being if I knew this was still the way it was going to end, I made the decision I wouldn't change that. I wanted, and that I just kept focusing on that spark, and I cried and grieved at different times. But what happened after he passed, the more time that went on, the more that spark came back to me. I wasn't remembering his illness. I was remembering the fun time. I was remembering the gratitude. And that's it. It shifted. I realized I'm not a victim of anything, and my dad's not technically a victim either of anything. We don't understand everything, but that was the spark in the dark, and that began my mindfulness journey of trying to empower myself. So that's the end of that story. But but I think there's an opportunity for us all if you're going through a hard time. Where's the spark in the dark?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you shifted from the quote unquote victim consciousness of I'm losing my dad.
Right.
You were
Grateful
grieving him before he was.
Yeah.
You were grieving him in the present.
Right.
And you shifted your present, like the exercise at the beginning. You looked around the room.
Yeah.
And you shifted the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
In the present, there's his eyes. He's here, and
exactly.
I can talk to him. I can tell him how I feel, and
Yeah.
and that shifted you out of that
Yeah.
other state of missing him before he was even gone.
Where I wasn't, it was robbing me of my presence with him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what changed after that moment. I mean, I may have
That's
had a
beautiful.
few minutes here and there, but I changed after that moment. And that, to me, I want to link that to what we were talking about before about trusting. I still was having emotions, but I felt like I could trust myself. Inner trust, inner faith in myself began to grow
Right.
when I made room for gratitude.
Mm.
And said, I'm not a victim of this.
Right. And trust that pain would not break you.
Yeah.
That was because I thought I was going to. I would have.
Right.
The depression was. God, I would cry where blood vessels were just popped all over my eyes because I felt so out of control, and I did feel like it was going to just ruin me, the grief of that. And it actually, I had an opportunity in it. I'm very grateful for. I'm very grateful for finding that quote accidentally,
Right.
but not accidentally. So
Yeah.
inner trust, inner faith.
Right. That is the real, I think the key in all of that, in that moment in your life, was that you had enough trust in yourself to feel those feelings that you were feeling, because it was hard and you were sad, but to also trust that you would be able to move through them with gratitude for everything, from what was before, from what you still had in that moment with your dad, and then gratitude after for all of it.
Yeah, that's what's lasted.
Yeah.
So, and those of you out there that are listening, you may have experiences. One of my favorite things to do now, this sounds really maybe dark, but I don't think it is, to help people find the light in the dark. I like the opportunity when someone brings a challenge that they're going through. And I think the most wonderful thing is when you begin to mindfully shift your own perspective about your own life. And it doesn't mean you don't have triggers. It doesn't mean, those things happen. But the more you practice it, the more you bounce back to your inner truth. But I love having the opportunity to hearing and compassionately listening to very difficult things. And then when someone's ready, which is not always right away, but when someone's ready, helping find the empowerment within it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that I don't know anything. I know that's what happened for me when other people were there for me, and I don't know anything more powerful. There's empowering opportunities in literally everything. So, I don't know. Very interesting.
I keep having a thought going through my head and I keep losing it. It's something about like I keep thinking, it keeps popping up and then I forget what it was because we're continuing to talk. But it was something to the effect of trying to control the things around you
Yes.
Mm.
because you don't truly trust in yourself enough
Hmm.
to move through this world, I guess. You know,
Yeah.
like when I don't trust my inner voice, when I don't trust that whisper, when I don't trust the wisdom that I know is inside of me, I try to control the external circumstances, the
Mm.
external things, so that I could control. I fool myself into thinking that I can control what's going to happen next by doing that. But the truth is, if I just were to trust that voice, that whisper, I wouldn't even need to touch all the things around. I wouldn't need to try to control the things around me because I know that the next thing that comes, I have created that. I can bring that to me from a positive place instead of a place of fear and trying to control and trying to, I don't manipulate, I guess, my environment. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Because your environment's making you feel uncomfortable,
Yeah.
and you need something from the environment outside of yourself to feel comfortable,
Mm.
Yeah.
feel like you can trust, because I mean, there's something in the news every single day. I mean, we can't control, it will make you feel crazy. And that's where a lot of anxiety comes from.
Hmm.
You know, like what Wendy, going back to the very beginning of, anxiety, what could be, or what once was.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
that's the opposite of presence, and that's the opposite of trust. And so it's a worthwhile thing to go down, the journey
Mm.
to go down of like, can I begin to trust myself? And I also think, Maria, going back to something you said earlier, and maybe this is what we dive into here at the end, is ego and spirit, so to speak. Ego and your soul's wisdom. How does that feel? What is the difference? And if we could give everyone that's watching a little nugget of something they could practice or consider before you leave tonight, I think that could be really beautiful from our own inner wisdom, and then
Hmm.
helping you all tune into your inner wisdom. But yeah. And
Hmm.
let me come back one thing too, when you were saying before, and because I think you were talking about how you living in a monastery, being spiritual in a monastery, and trusting things in a monastery is very simple to
Yeah.
do. And this is not a crack on monasteries. I think they're beautiful and wonderful. But if you're hiding away from the world for so long, it's easy to do that out there. What about out here?
Right.
And 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 again, we can talk about like agoraphobia type things, or like not wanting to leave their house because I don't trust I'm going to be okay when I leave. I don't
Hmm.
trust that I can handle it. And that is a very disempowering way to live, handing power over to everything outside of you. So I'd be curious how all this comes together for you all, or different thoughts that are popping in.
I do think that's a segue to a whole other. I feel like the
Mm.
trusting yourself and trusting in your inner voice is like the first step. And that talking about how you can continue to live a very spiritual life, trusting your inner voice, listening to your inner voice, making time for that on a daily basis, how how that can help you move through the world in a very spiritual way. But if you don't have that to begin with, how do you live in a spiritual way in this world?
Mm-hmm.
It's like the trust is the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're not taught to do that as children.
No, you're
We're not.
you're told to listen to what everybody around you tells you.
Mm.
Yeah, which is interesting. Um, Goodness, I don't even know where to start. I feel like that's a whole other
It may be, yeah.
conversation.
Maybe
Mm.
we dive into that at another time. Okay,
Yeah.
so let me ask a couple questions, and then we'll conclude here in a moment. What for the two of you? So that was one of my steps, my long story,
Hmm.
where I began to where I began to trust myself, and it came in a really very hard time. But for me, knowing me, being stubborn, that I could be, that it took something really big to really give me an opportunity to kind of wake up to a higher consciousness, so a greater way of looking at. I say greater, I don't mean better, I mean expansive way of looking at something. So
Mm-hmm.
I'd be curious if there's what was a pivotal moment for the two of you, or some advice that you were given, or an aha that you may have had, because we all can sit here today and we all can acknowledge we've been there, of not trusting ourselves. And again, some of you that are out there listening, I would be curious. You can email us about your experiences as well. What were your ahas? What helped you trust and know what your inner voice even sounds like or feels like? Where do you have any pivotal moments, or ahas, or advice that, or a book that you read, or a quote, or just, I don't know, where did that start for the two of you? The glimpses of that.
For me, I think the first half of once I started on the more spiritual path, I mean, I was always religious, but more spiritual. Once I started that, um, I think for me, the first half of it, it was a lot of asking for validation from other people who I thought had the answers
Having
and were
answers. Yeah.
very, very in tune with their spirit and can connect with mine and help me along that way. So I would get something and I would ask for validation. And I think there's a place for that. I do, until you feel more confident in what you're receiving and what you're hearing, what you're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that truly I started trusting myself when I probably in the latter half of this journey, like the last 10 years of my life, I've started trusting myself more the more I've started seeing my and really believing in my own worth. It's really hard to
Yes.
trust when you don't see your own worth.
I mean, everything goes back to that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. There it is.
Single thing. When you know that you're worthy of trusting yourself, when you know that you're worthy of making mistakes, when you know that you're worthy to feel, when you know you're worthy of all of it, yeah, it shifts everything.
Yeah.
Wendy Ann, I'm curious what you're thinking.
So many things. For me, the trust started because my experiences growing up was I received a lot of criticism, a lot of disconnection with people, with with friend groups, or with just it was really challenging, and so I became fiercely independent. I mean, I moved out when I was 17, and I've still never lived back home since then. And so I kind of placed not, and it wasn't trust at the time, but I just kept kind of landing in situations, and some of them good, some of them bad. And somehow there is always this underlying safety net, which now I know is just, the divine, the universe, and then just my will of wanting to always just keep going forward. But when I started making a shift, and when things started to really feel like truth instead of everything was happening to me, was when I started seeking community. And for me, it was really hard with people. So I would go out in nature, and I started getting a lot of signs. So I was going through divorce. I was living in North Carolina, originally from Canada. And everywhere I would walk, I would see feathers, just all the time, feathers and feathers and feathers. And one day I was sitting and I was sifting a bunch of rocks in my hand, and I didn't know what I was supposed to do. Was I supposed to go back to Canada, or, I wasn't sure if I could move with my children, or do I stay in North Carolina? And I opened my hand and there was a stone there, and it was in the shape of the state of North Carolina. And I was just, I looked around, and of course there's nobody there, but even just recognizing that, because of the kind of child I was, and the things that I loved as a child, was being outside and noticing a meadow and just watching, I was a very small child, and I would just sit in the backyard at the bird feeder and pretend I was in one of those nature shows, studying them, and, David Attenborough's voices in the head. And so creating community, I didn't realize at the time, but I was creating community with nature, and nature was talking back to me. And as I began to trust those signs and following them, I started to realize that those signs were actually mine. It wasn't some random thing. Because of who I am, I'm a person who connects with nature. So of course, nature was going to speak to me, and learning to trust that, and learning to trust those voices, and then working my way up towards saying those kinds of things out loud to people and see where they land. And some people, you tell stories about a rock shaped like North Carolina, and they're going to look at you a little funny. Other people might lean in and be like, or be like curious about it. And that's how you find your people. That's how you create the community. It's trial and error, but try.
Trusting your authentic voice.
Trusting your authentic voice. Because if I kept pretending to fit in with everybody else by not talking about the rocks, then I wouldn't be sitting here with the two of you in this space, because I'd be, I don't know, off playing bunco or something somewhere, or I don't know. I don't know where I'd be. I wouldn't be this version of me if I wasn't listening to those things that were calling to me.
Well, and what a beautiful testament to your gift that we see in you very, very clearly. And I know you see it in yourself too now, is that it's your gift of presence. Because how many people would have sifted those rocks in their hands and threw them to the ground without looking at them? Yeah, but honestly, maybe me. But that is it's one of your most beautiful qualities, is you are so present, and you notice, because you're present, you notice things. You notice those signs. I know I've heard this on other podcasts, or I don't even know where, but the universe is constantly giving you signs. God is constantly giving you signs. It's when are you present enough to notice them?
Right. And I think that goes back
and
to
then
that.
trust.
Right. Well, I was going to say,
and trust that they're going to come through you as you. For some people, that could be a song on the radio. For other people, it could be you open a newspaper and an article jumps out, or it could be a social media post or something. But however, it's going to come to you as you, through your language.
It's the shift of looking at it from the lens of the universe is for me. And this is for me. And pay attention, because the more you pay attention, the more you focus on the sparks, the more and more and more it's like she was saying, it's right in front of your face.
Yeah,
it is, but just giving yourself permission. So thank you, everybody. What a lovely conversation today, and thank you for your patience. I'm getting over a cold, and so I can feel it and hear it in my voice. But this is beautiful, and I think again the message is being willing to take a step that you're worthy to begin to trust yourself. I think that's mostly the theme. So thank you all. Just really quickly as we close, Miss Laura, this is how the other Laura, how you can reach her. She has a beautiful coaching practice, and her focus is radiant joy. It is exactly who she is. We all have that. We believe in love and presence and truth and joy as frequencies, and something that does dwell inside of each of us. And so we all are here to support one another and to support other people on the journey of rediscovering their wholeness. And so Laura does this with her coaching, We are part of Vistara School. It's a Vistara Inner Wisdom School. We decided not to write that all out on a very long website address. So it's Vistara School, but it's an Inner Wisdom School, and we're this community that is a community. We're here to support people on that journey of remembering that their wisdom dwells within them. And, when Maria was talking earlier about, sometimes it does start with other people acknowledging you. The thing that I would encourage everyone is when you're looking for that, look and make sure the people that you're reaching out to see you as an equal, see you that you are whole, and that it is inside of you always, and that will empower you and will not let you give your power over to them, but encourages you to discover and rediscover your own. So we would love to see you here next time. We are always here. What is today? Wednesday. Over here on the East Coast, it's 6 o'clock. And then over where Laura is in Colorado, Mountain Time, it's 4 p.m. Mountain Time. And again, reach out. Let us know how we can serve this community. And it is such an honor to be with you, however you're with us tonight. So thank you all, and we will see you very soon next time, unless anyone has anything else.
No.
We're good. All right. It's all love, everybody. Much love. Take care.
Good night.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.